It has begun!
The Doll Festival has begun. There was a lot of setup in this chapter in regards to plot progression. A hint at who may be the White Crow, everyone pulling up in their new outfits, which looks sick. And by the way, I love the attention to detail in regards to how the outfits accentuate all of the characters. Good shit, August. A little bit of Fu lore, and to end the chapter off, you introduced the Hell Guard into the mix? I mean, I already assumed they were going to show up, but yeah, this arc is shaping up to be a good one. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? DomoSenpai here, and we are back with chapter 132 of Gachiakuta, and man, does it feel good to be back. I was sick all of last week, and I'm still sick now, still recovering a little bit, so apologies for not being able to drop any Gachiakuta related videos during that span, or hell, even my 10,000 subscribers special video that's still on hold and I'm still writing. I will be getting that out at some point, so stay tuned for that. I'm still in a bit of a recovery phase, like I said, battling some lingering issues, but we will continue to push through and get everything that we need to get done. I'm at like 60 to 70% recovered. You can really hear it in my voice as well. There are a few goals that we have to knock out prior to the release of the anime, and I'll be talking about those in an update video that I have planned, not to mention more detail on how we'll go about watching those episodes together and whatnot. Anyway, enough yapping, let's get into the Now, if there's one thing that we know Urana-sensei likes to do, that will be throwing out blatant misdirects. She starts off the chapter by introducing us to somebody whom we've never seen before, with characteristics of somebody that we've seen before. Instead of a giant necktie, it's a giant bow tie, spiffy suit, gloves, and this time it's a box. Not to mention you have a black crow right by her. Now here's the thing, this could for sure be Kuro in disguise, but isn't that what Urana would want us to think? This to me is more than likely the White Crow, and I think the crow on the ground was supposed to be an indicator to her that Kuro has done something he shouldn't have, and that's where the "what bad manners" line may have came from. Now, as we progress through the chapter, Maimo introduces himself as the MC, and not only that, says something hilariously threatening. He says, "We've got a surprise waiting for you at the end of the festival, so look forward to the finale." So funny enough, this can be taken several ways. But I wonder what Urana-sensei has in store for us at the end of the Doll Festival, to the point that she had Maimo just like announce it. In the comments, let me know how much y'all are looking forward to this Doll Festival, because man, am I extremely excited. It also felt like the beginning of a horror movie. I don't know how many of you guys are horror fans, but Maimo talking as everyone's getting out of their cars, endlessly chatting, and walking into the Doll Festival. We then get our spread of the chapter, being the beginning of the Doll Festival, and man, did I enjoy the Doll Festival outfits a ton. August does not miss when it comes to detailing the cleaners, and Kei Urana does not miss when it comes to artistically expressing herself on her characters. It's so sick. And when it came to the detailing of the cleaners' outfits and the fact that he really made Rudo an outfit an ode to Cerberus and shit, I thought that was really cool. According to August, the real festival is at the summit of Andio, which is located in Southward. And the one thing that crossed my mind was the image we first saw when Kuro told us about the White Crow. It looks a bit different, but it might be a perspective shift thing if you ask me. As August dances through the streets, Rudo is locked in on finding the White Crow. And with Rudo being Rudo, he's gonna be stuck on square one, or should I say stuck in square one? Yeah, stuck in square one until somebody gets the lead. So while Aisha and August spin off into the distance to go look at merch, Ryo tries grabbing Enjin's attention, but Enjin is lost in thought. So as Ryo, Zanka, and Rudo have a fun discussion about Enjin, we dive into his mind. There, we find out what is really keeping him occupied. This was more than likely either somewhere near the end or the ending of the conversation he had with Seimu, you know, from the previous chapter. And she says something that we've all been thinking about since the beginning. She said, "You know, I've always wondered, Rudo was a random stranger who came from nowhere. Why did you care about him to begin with?" As soon as I read that and I saw Enjin's disposition, I was immediately reminded of chapter 87, the ancestry chapter. And I know. I always go back to this because this was the moment that everything in regards to Rudo's lineage and all of that changed. And when you really think about it, that was where Engine had a similar look on his face. And that always brought up the question, who are you? To be fair, we've had similar discussions about who he could be and where he's from, but hear me out. For as protective as Engine is of Rudo, he has to be from either one of the lineages that were next to Rudo's, or he's the direct descendant of Gachiakuta himself. And funny enough, when you think about it, like when you really think about it, Canis was Gachiakuta's best friend. And what makes it even more funny is the fact that Engine doesn't like his original name. And Gachiakuta does sound pretty funny when you say it out loud. I know, that's a Space Jam Michael Jordan stretch, but if we're being real, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Of course, it could be the cliche that he was originally from the sphere and then he was exiled, but there's little to no evidence that that could be the case outside of his tattoo, which is also something we don't have an explanation of. We just know the designs are eerily reminiscent of the border. Don't want to get too far off track. A lot of this spells big reveals in the chapters to come. I like what Urana Sensei did here because this shit felt straight out of a movie. The way each panel had our main four really felt like we were getting down to serious business. And if you want me to be honest, we hella were. I didn't think that Engine and Rudo were gonna let Zanka and Ryo in on this because, as Kuro stated, do not tell anyone. Not even your fellow cleaners. But to be fair, I think that was only for cleaners who weren't in the know about what the chokers do. And as they were talking about what our original mission was, we're snapped back into reality and they were having a gesture convo which fucking took me out, bro. I should have known, right? I should have knew that they weren't just straight up having a normal conversation like that about something so important around a bunch of cleaners, more than likely have their chokers on. This is when we shift over to our two new cleaners, Amo and Fu. Well, Fu is on a trial basis, so we'll see how that goes. But, you know, Amo is our newly introduced cleaner. But the conversation between the two of them was rather enlightening. Amo asked Fu why he was here on a trial basis, and when we see the convo between Corvus and Fu, in a very much Fu fashion, he says, I want to be ordered around. Man, you know what? Fu is such a lovable idiot. But this next part had me a bit shook. I had already come to the conclusion that Fu's backstory was going to be quite tragic based on the imagery shown back in chapter 98. And this added to it. Amo explains to Fu how, she ended up joining the cleaners and that it all had to do with helping out Rudo. Fu then lays a heavy line by saying, I get it. You've never made a decision for yourself that turned out to be a huge mistake. And of course, Amo isn't going to be able to pick up on that immediately because she's still trying to get through her own fair share of trauma. I can't wait to see what Urana Sensei does with Fu because I always thought that he would be a perfect fit for our band of misfits. And to lose out on a character like this would be a bit of a disappointment, not gonna lie. We move back to the main crew and they're just perusing through the festival, checking out masks and whatnot. And as they laugh about one of the masks that resembles Zanka, Zanka catches a glimpse of someone familiar. He snags the mask from Ryo, throws it on. And as he turns in fear and asks, what is he doing here? We get a panel of the gorgeous Kyoka squeezing some information out of someone, right? Which I think is more than likely the X-rated they ran into on the way back to Kamuwatari time. She goes on to say, take advantage of the event to apprehend your target. Signs are now pointing to that being the real goal. Our mark is plotting to do something at the festival. I trust you to handle it, little brother. And we get a shot of Goka pulling up to the festival with a few people whom we don't know. It was probably one of the two who were with them when they went to go and see Corvus, one of them moments. And that's how the chapter ended. There was so much that happened in this chapter that we covered, but there's a few things that I do want to discuss, mostly in regards to what Kyoka was talking about, because I feel like I covered everything else pretty properly. The thing that really bothered me about it is the fact that they are still trying to capture Rudo. At least that's what it seems like, because this was the whole reason they showed up to Corvus's doorstep in the first place. They wanted to interrogate him for information on how to get to the sphere. But this could also, right, just hear me out, this could also be a diversion. What if their mark isn't Rudo at all? What if it's somebody completely different? But what if their mark is Hyo? Last we saw her, she picked up the Doll Festival flyer and was thinking of going there, but the thing about it is she was alone. I could also be wrong, right? I could be very wrong here, but I don't think Kyoka would willingly send her out on her own without anyone to escort her. No? So much to speculate from this chapter, bro. Like I said, I thought it was really good. This is the proper way to kick off an arc, let alone a chapter. I'm going to be looking over this chapter extensively for the next 3 or 4 days, and I'll more than likely up a stream to talk about it, at least more in depth, maybe later on today, or we'll start it up next week. We'll see. In the comments below, let me know how you guys felt about this chapter. Was it a major plus in your books, or were you let down by something? Feel free to comment your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Thank y'all for all of the support, man. Even though I've been sick as hell, or I've been feeling sick as hell, something about a new Gachiakuta chapter really gets my blood pumping, you know? Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, edit this video. Y'all enjoy y'all morning, afternoon, and night, wherever y'all are. I'm DomoSenpai, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.